Joining me now for more on this, Defence Industry Minister Pat Conroy. Thanks for your time. What was your reaction when you saw this news?
I was appalled, absolutely appalling. Violence has no role in the democratic process, full stop, in the United States, in Australia, or anywhere around the world. And obviously we're very relieved that former President Trump was relatively unharmed and was able to continue with his activities. So it has no place, and we're seeing more extreme language, and unfortunately that extremism often can flow into other impacts. And we've seen murders of members of parliament in the United Kingdom. We've seen this assassination attempt. It's a time for moderation and a time for people to moderate and temper what they're saying and doing.
Interesting to note, he's pledged in a report in the past couple of hours to give a speech not attacking Joe Biden at the convention, but about unity. Good, mature response from Donald Trump, which I guess isn't always expected.
Well, it's not for me to commentate on the actual US presidential campaign, but I think the messages that were conveyed by President Biden in the aftermath and Prime Minister Albanese in his remarks are absolutely right. We need to take the heat out of political debate. We're seeing it in the debate in this country around the Middle East conflict, for example. My own electorate office has been attacked. I had 4 people wearing balaclavas take to the windows in my office with crowbars at 4 a.m. one morning. And we've seen what obviously happened to Josh Burns's office. We need to respect everyone else's political views. We need to moderate our language, and we need to be very aware of any extremism and combat it.
Do you fear that we are heading closer towards an environment in which our leaders and politicians are not really advised to be as exposed? I don't know if that's the right word, but welcome to, mingle with members of the public?
Well, I think it's one of the great things about our democracy that members of parliament, ministers can go down to their shops and pick up things, or like I did on the weekend, take my kids to a local park or throw the footy around. That's a great part of our democracy. It's a real strength of Australian democracy, where the people and politicians are close to each other. We're the same. Politicians are people, and we need to stay in touch and be grounded. And you've seen that dehumanising language. I think obviously language that was subjected to Julia Gillard was probably one of the most intense recent examples of that. But you do see it break out occasionally as well, where people are accused of being complicit in genocide, which is complete rubbish. That dehumanising attacks make it easier for extremism to spread, and that corrodes democracy.
Does it give you any sort of pause for thought as well around attacks that, the personal never works around? It might get pretty willing in Parliament, but just to pause and think, well, let's not go the person?
Well, I'd like to think most political leaders don't engage in political attacks that attack the substance. Obviously, it's willing in the chamber, but importantly, most people are able to park that once they leave the debating floor and engage in other activities, such as, for example, playing touch footy with members of the opposite party. But we should always be very conscious of our language and not get too personal, to reflect on people's positions and policy differences rather than saying other things. Most people get into politics for the right reasons. They're patriots. We just have different views about how to improve the country.